Ms. Spitalnik, while you were talking about white supremacists and abortion, I totally agree with you. There's a lot of white supremacists in the abortion movement and abortionists because they have murdered over 20 million black babies in America since Roe versus Wade in 1973. That's on average 900 black babies are aborted. They're ripped apart inside their mother's wombs. So I would agree with you. That could be labeled white supremacy, or we could just label it murder. And it should never be happening. So if you want to talk about white supremacy and the abortion movement, you should really analyze that in your human rights groups that you run as you collect donations from people with your nonprofit. Because I think that is something extremely important to talk about, is the right for those black babies to have lives as American citizens, the right for them to be born, the right for them to be given a chance to live as free Americans instead of murder. You think this is funny, Ms. Spitalnik? Is this funny to you? Is babies being murdered in the womb funny to you? Because you're smirking and laughing at me right now.
What's not funny are the black people and Hispanic people and Jewish people and Muslim people who have been murdered in synagogue, in church, in supermarkets, in mosques by white supremacists.
Are you aware that all colored people are murdered? That is a fact, that every single color person has been murdered. That's not unusual. It's not just that people of color are murdered. White people are murdered too. Murder is not just for minorities. That may be a shock to you because you seem to dive deeply into all kinds of misinformation and seem to be uninformed yourself. But if you're going to talk about white supremacy and abortion, you need to study very hard about who the targets are. And it's not just black women, and it's not just black babies, it's Hispanics as well. And I think that's important for you to understand. And if you apparently care about human rights and you care about studying extremism, let's have a little talk about extremism, shall we? I think that's important because that's what this hearing is all about. I'd like to inform you, or maybe you don't know, maybe you do know, I doubt it. You mostly care about white supremacists and white-wing extremism. But there's quite a pattern of left-wing violent protests on college campuses today. Ms. Gaines here was a victim of it. Do you support what they did to Ms. Gaines? These trans terrorists chasing her into a room, do you support their movement?
I am absolutely sorry that Ms. Gaines felt threatened and unsafe while she was on a college campus, and that's not acceptable. But again, the statistics tell us that when it comes to politically motivated violence, in 2022, every single murder was committed by a right-wing extremist.
Every single murder in America was committed by a right-wing extremist?
Every single politically motivated murder was committed by a right-wing extremist.
Are you sure about that?
I am.
Are you aware that the Tennessee shooter just recently identified as a man and she was a biological woman? Was she a right-wing extremist as well?
Young lady's time has expired. I'll allow the witness to answer the question.
So that was a shooting that happened in 2023. There is no evidence as to what ideology motivated that shooting. And what we do know is that cisgender males are responsible for the vast majority of mass shootings in this country.
I'm sorry, I don't know what a cisgender male is. There's only two genders. It's male and female. That would be that. So no one knows what a cisgender male is. It's a made up.
Unfortunately, anti-trans.
Look at this as Marjorie Taylor Greene goes after this witness for smirking and laughing during a hearing where there's a very serious issue going on, the issue of abortion. Now, the issue of abortion is one that is very, very touchy in the United States and has been since the application of Roe v. Wade and its overturning of the Dobbs case recently. This issue touches millions of people and touches the heartstrings and the emotions of millions. And it's a very intense and deep debate that's still going on to this day across the halls of Congress as we see here. What we see here, though, is Marjorie Taylor Greene using the historical facts that she has on Planned Parenthood and on the abortion industry to show and demonstrate factually from Planned Parenthood's own numbers what is happening to African American kids across the country when they're in the womb and what happens to the communities of people and minorities that happen in the womb. this witness is not very good at eloquently putting out their point, obviously, because they need to be reminded a few times that not every murder, which was a very dangerous and very generalized statement that should have been 100% prefaced with, when it comes to this issue, every single murder. Better way to phrase that for her. But to smirk and to laugh in the middle of a testimony like this in a serious hearing about the issue of life and about abortion issues, which really, again, really make people emotional and can make some people extremely uncomfortable, to take a stand like they both have. They obviously have opposite stands. You could tell that Marjorie Taylor Greene is extremely pro-life and extremely willing to fight for the right to life. To laugh and to smirk at someone with a different viewpoint, especially if you're testifying on Capitol Hill, is the worst thing to do. That is 100% how I discredit your points, not because logically it makes sense, but because in areas of debate and areas of going back and forth, the worst thing you want to look like is smug on national TV when you're trying to debate a serious point. And this woman could not have done a better job than trying to talk down to a sitting congresswoman, whether or not you disagree with her or agree with her. She was elected to that office by her constituents, and therefore she has the right to speak on that floor unless otherwise said by a body like Congress that controls its own members and can expel at any time for any reason, along with references to the Ethics Committee. I know there's a lot of controversy around her. However, the deal is that being smug does not help this lady's case, especially with Marjorie Taylor Greene's supporters and constituents. There's no reason to talk down to a congresswoman, no matter who they are. They have just as much right to be there. In fact, they have more right to be there than you do. And that's why when it comes time to ask questions, they can ask serious questions and don't even have to give you the time to answer. It's their time, and you're only recognized on their time. So treat it wisely, but don't sneer at them when they're asking a question.